Colleagues Getting Coffee. I'm joined today with Martine Bolton from Sunshine Corporate and Personal Development. Hello.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
So, Martine, what is it that you actually do?
So it's a mixture. My business is Sunshine Corporate and Personal Development. So there are two key arms to what I do. So the first bit is corporate training. So that's corporate training, coaching, consultancy services, and I work for all sizes of business, from small and medium-sized enterprises up to big corporates. The other side of my business is more sort of one-to-one personal development and coaching. So I'm also a trained NLP practitioner and hypnotherapist. So all of those things are really good when you're working with people one-to-one, particularly if you know that somebody's got some kind of deeper level stuff that's perhaps blocking them, and you know they're really looking, they get a sense maybe that they've got lots of potential and perhaps they're just not quite living that, or if they've got sort of a big goal that they're trying to work towards and kind of on their own devices, they've been struggling to get there. I don't know if you've probably noticed as well as most people that in the last sort of 3 or so years, everybody seems to be talking about kind of mental health, about anxiety, about depression, about the whole host of kind of mental health conditions that human beings can get. So actually it's a lot of us on a deep level. You know, we do have fears and worries. We are a little bit anxious particularly in new and different situations. So I think, again, kind of that thing of learning to master what's going on up there is really central to then kind of moving on and doing the things in your life that you want to do. So just, I think gradually just doing scary things is really good, and then you're kind of pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone. So that.
Why do you think in the last 3 years then this has happened, this rise in mental health?
I don't really know what started it, but I do know that sort of at the time it started, a lot of celebrities started kind of, I mean, when I say hopping on a bandwagon, I don't think they're making it up, but it's like everybody started coming out of the woodwork and saying, actually, I've had this, or I had a time which was really difficult for me. And I think in the scope of, you know, maybe 80 odd years or however long most of us will be alive, there will be things that happen that, you know, will knock you off your centre, and that will give you cause to sometimes go to, you know, a place of fear, worry, doubt, you know, darkness.
I suppose it's actually quite good if celebrities or kind of well-established people talk about it, because it just lifts the stigma.
Yes.
Because I think the mental health has been a real stigma for years and years and years. I mean, my mum has worked in social care and things like that for years, and there has been a shift change, and actually it seems people are more accepting of themselves now, and people are, and you know, when people start businesses, very challenging time for people, because the nervousness and the anxiety and those sorts of things. So it's actually amazing that you're helping people with that potentially as well. Yeah,
so I mean, I think it's a pleasure and a joy, isn't it? So obviously I've learnt some stuff in my life that's been helpful to me, and then just being able to share that with other people.
So how does what you did in corporate then translate into your self-employment now?
So it's a lot of the same kind of stuff, only that rather than being kind of working for an organisation in-house, I'm doing it all myself. So you kind of have to have all of the skills, so the IT skills, the marketing skills, all the stuff that I used to leave other people to worry about. So it's a massive and steep learning curve, but it's a good one, you know, it's really good. So I do feel like I've probably grown a few new brain cells. Probably had a few more sleepless nights.
But it's nice to feel like you're doing it for yourself though. Like I find it challenging as well with some areas I just haven't got the expertise. But it's when you get it right, you have even more satisfaction, because you're like, I did that, oh my God, I'm doing it.
And actually you can pretty much wake up in the morning and think, you know, what do I want to do today, or what do I want to do in 3 months' time? And you know, just that thing of being able to get up every morning and do the work that you love, that comes from your heart, and that isn't just somebody else's agenda, but is actually links in with your purpose and your mission and what you're here to do. So so it's kind of priceless, really, that freedom.
Thank you.
And you.
Okay, so Sunshine. Why did you call the business Sunshine?
Oh gosh, I did spend probably a month or so going round and round with lots of different ideas. But you know, sunshine at the end of the day is one of my favourite things in life, and I think those blue sky and sunshine days, you know, we can all feel happy and energised and well. So I'm really passionate about well-being, and just think that we're here to be happy. So sunshine was a good symbolism for me, but also I think, you know, there's an analogy that can be drawn with the sun and the sky and the clouds. So the sun is always shining above the clouds, and I think the cloud often comes in and then it goes. So every day isn't necessarily sunshiny, but behind those clouds we know that the sun is always there. So the clouds for me represent, you know, our thinking, and specifically our, you know, much of our thinking is faulty, and, you know, sometimes is unhelpful to us. So absolutely. I think if we can learn to just direct our thinking in more effective ways and just drop the thinking that isn't helping us, then we can experience more kind of blue sky and sunshine kind
So is
of
this
days.
relating back to sort of NLP practices, is that right?
So NLP is a significant part of what I do, and so symbolism is key in NLP, as is language, as is how you use your physiology. So it kind of all links in, but if I think that, you know, the majority of what I do is about the power of the mind, then there's a very strong connection there with neuro-linguistic programming, which personally I found really helpful to me, but to the people that I work with on a one-to-one basis.
It's basically about like thinking positive and then living positive. And I was speaking to someone the other day about it, and they were talking about you kind of perpetuate your own future if you imagine it and are positive in it. Is that right? Yeah. So
the way I put it is that, you know, our thoughts are highly creative, and everything that we think is kind of shaping our experiences and our circumstances. So obviously, if a lot of our thinking is worrying, fearful, doubtful, critical, you know, just negative in general.
Didn't you say that 80% of us are experiencing fear, or 80% of what we think?
So,
like that?
I mean, always be slightly suspicious about statistics, but as a very rough guide, I guess, probably 80% of our thinking is faulty, but also 80% of humans are still said to be more fear-based.
Okay.
So it's just something that, you know, the fear thoughts for most of us will pop in. They're kind of normal, and they link back to the time when survival was key for us, and we had to be worrying about what was around the next corner and if somebody had our back or not. And so that instinct is still within us, and probably needs a little bit of managing now and then.
Well, I think in society now it's very difficult, isn't it? You're constantly on, business is always on, everything's digital. So, you know, I think that if you're faulty thinking, it's actually difficult to break that cycle, because you don't have any space to step out of yourself, which is why I guess your consultancy services are really useful, because you're buying that space to reprogram slightly. So I think thinking is so foundational to all of the results that we get, and if you're self-employed, you've got to make sure that what's coming out of you is good and positive, and it works. So all of that is traceable back to how you're thinking. So the clarity of your thinking, the content of your thinking, the constructiveness of those thoughts, and also just your general state of consciousness. And when that is kind of positive and clear, you're going to be doing great work, and you're going to be getting great outcomes. Whereas if you're too scattered in, I've got to do this and this and this and this, that sounds like me.
Then it's most of us left to our own devices. But I think there's a thing about just sort of trying to kind of steer that thinking a little bit better. So you're kind of reining it back, so that it's kind of one thing at a time, rather than I'm trying to juggle 8 different balls.
What's it called, like monotasking as well, isn't it? Rather than multitasking.
I know.
When I read that, I was like, that's amazing.
It's genius, isn't it? So just one very simple little concept, do it right, and then move on to the next.
Oh, everyone would have such a happier life.
They would, just monotasking.
Sorry, I can't answer your phone call right now. I'll do that because I'm finishing this really well. And then I will do
my filing.
And then I will do your project really well. Oh, amazing. That'd be amazing. Okay, so with all of this in mind, and of having set up business for yourself, if you had 3 business ethics that you felt really were your staple ethics, what would they be?
Okay, so I feel like I'm a very ethical person, and I've always kind of had a strong sense of ethics and what's right and good and true. But as a customer myself, I look out for certain things. So probably the most important thing is quality. So I always want to make sure that the services and the products that I'm offering are of extremely high quality, and that they are delivering on the promises that I'm advertising for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So quality is key. The next thing for me that, again, as a customer is really important is value. So anything that I sell, goods or services, has to be really excellent value for money. So that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be cheap, but it does mean that in terms of the value that the customer will get from that product or service, that actually they are getting extremely good value for money, and that product or that service is going to have a significant benefit to them in their life. Third thing is probably to do with honesty. So I'm sure in a past life I took a truth serum. So I've always been very honest, and I've kind of learned in life to manage that in a way. So whilst I do think that honesty is extremely important, I think kind of, you can probably sometimes be too honest. Yeah. So I think it's being honest in the claims that you're making about your products and services. I think it's being honest when you're giving people feedback. But again, another thing I've learned is that, when people ask for feedback, double check that they're in a place to hear it from you. Also, the way that you deliver it is really important, and it always has to be kind of gentle and respectful and constructive.
I think constructive is such the key word there, because when I've managed teams, I have seen managers who are just can be quite brutal, and I just think, oh my god, like, you just have to manage the expectations of people, and you have to manage the outcomes. You have to make sure that they are comfortable, because actually feedback is incredibly hard to receive, especially if there's no way to go with it. So if you're being constructive and you're saying, well, in my experience, this is what you're doing is okay, but this can make it just a little bit better, this tweak, this edit, that's much more digestible for people. I think so, and I think people can sense the kind of the reasons that you're giving it to them, and if you're giving somebody feedback because actually you know that that's going to be really helpful to them in their life, and it's for their own benefit, then I think they're much more likely to receive it in the spirit that it's given. Whereas if you give somebody feedback because they've cheesed you off or you're angry with them, then probably that's going to be met with defensiveness, because you're not giving it in a spirit that's actually, here's something that I know will be useful to you, and take it or leave it. But and I think also in feedback as well, giving people praise equally is important. So if somebody does make changes and improves, then give them the praise that they deserve for that as well. Then you're managing that.
Well, there's another one of those interesting sort of 80-20 things. So what typically happens in business is that 80% of the feedback you will get is on what you're not doing right. So there is a real need to sort of temper that and make sure that, if you're somebody that's in a position where you're giving people feedback, that you're also acknowledging what they're doing that's really good. So it doesn't mean that you always have to sandwich good, constructive feedback between positives, because I think that can maybe sometimes be a bit confusing for people.
People feel like they're like up, down.
But just make sure that your feedback is proportionate.
So, the most important question of today: if you had one cheesy business saying...
I have quite a lot, actually, Annelies, I have to say.
I bet you don't know as many as me, but go for it.
Really?
What
I love a quote and a cheesy saying.
Oh, yes.
So I think the one that represents my business best is, when we think well, we do well. Again, all traceable back to when what's going on up there is positive and constructive, and also when the energy that's coming from here is positive and loving, then we're going to get great results. So it goes back to that: thoughts, feelings, actions, results.
It's probably the Edam of cheese, that is. It's probably not up there with blue cheese. But, I'll take it.
I must try harder next time.
Proper cheese. Okay, so what's in the future then for the business? So where you are now, what's your next 3-6 months?
So I plan to do some hypnotherapy downloads, app-based downloads. I want to do some of those. I also want to do some online learning as well. Loads of different ideas. Probably won't all happen this year. Write a book. I hope to write a book.
Casual,
probably a few books. But because I've got all these ideas, I think I just need to think, what's my next thing?
It's logical steps, isn't it, to get to an overall outcome. So
it is, and actually, I think the more it goes back to what we were saying earlier on. The more plates you're trying to spin, you could end up just delivering on nothing. So one thing at a time.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, and it's been
today.
lovely. Thanks.
Is there anything else you would like to say before we finish?
No, but just good luck with your project. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I look forward to watching what everybody's got to say, really. And
we'll pop some links into the comments below so people can check it out. And thank you so much for coming and joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.